The lives of those living in the north of the Gaza Strip have been transformed in a matter of months. One resident described the scene as nothing short of apocalyptic. The scale of the destruction is terrible, very terrible. Destruction is swirling around one another. The smell of the streets is all there. People are dead and martyrs. We don't know what to do. Thank God for everything. What still stands in his view is a testament not to life, but to survival in the face of annihilation. A man who returned to his home in the mountainous north explained what awaited him. I went to my house in the mountains. I asked my neighbors where my house is. They told me it's your house. I didn't know where my house is. I was shocked when I found my house was just a pile of rubble. This sense of disorientation has become common. Once the north seemed a home, now it is a fragment. He told how, confronted with that rubble, he decided, so I went back. I said, that's it, I want to go back to the south. There's no way. My tent is in the south. His conviction came from simple logic. What is left in the north is not home. In his words, total destruction. Is there a house of life? There is no life left in the north at all. We found our countries destroyed and life. There is no life at all. And still he pressed, I went back to the north. There is no life at all. No water or anything. No life at all. I don't know where my house is. There is no life. The repetition stings, no life at all. He and his family, among many others, collapsed their options. Asked how long this could continue, he said, how long will we continue like this? We are tired. This is a life without taste and living without a soul. A sentence heavy with more than grief. It signals the erosion of identity, purpose, belonging. Eventually, the decision was made. We shortened the matter and said we will return to the south and live in a tent. Buy a tent. If we want to return, we will live in a tent. But there will be no water, no food, and nothing for us. Why would we return? The logic is stark. Better a tent with uncertainty than a house of ruin with certainties of death and thirst. In a few months, they had leapt from home to rubble, from rubble to tent, and from tent to waiting. Then came a moment of relief, tenuous and fragile. The war has ended for the better, thank God. And God willing, it will continue. And now the suffering of water, food and drink has begun. That moment he captured clearly. There is no liquidity, no money and nothing. And as you can see, Gaza's situation is dire and no home is left standing. We thank God that we are alive. There is a gesture of gratitude, living, still, but it is weighed down by a truth. Homes are gone and the essentials of life are missing. He continues, we are sitting here and the people of the neighborhood are of course sitting in good health since one knows his home. But even that respite is shallow. Today there is water. It is very difficult to find water in the area. And the most difficult thing, the story of water is the story of finding a place. The story of water, the story of days reduced to search, survival, scarcity. The infrastructure, the essential scaffolding of daily life, has collapsed. The infrastructure here is indescribably difficult. There are people who set up tents in the area. As soon as I came, I went out and found that the place is difficult not to set up in it. A tent, it doesn't mean it's hard to get out of it. The desperation is made concrete in the image of the tent, supposed refuge, yet fraught with discomfort, danger, uncertainty. In his own words, I swear to God, it took me 2.5 hours to realize that this was a mattress and a small teddy bear for the girls. I realized that this is our home. Here, there is a war. Here, there is a war. Honestly, I just found out that the war has begun. A mattress and a teddy bear, the last traces of childhood. The moment you recognize your home is a mattress and a bear, you understand how far things have fallen. Even the temporary refuge is threatened. The tents were destroyed, the houses were destroyed, they returned to their homes. There is no water, there are no landmarks of the neighborhood. Landmarks gone, neighborhood identity erased, the flow of life fundamentally broken. These voices emerge in the middle of what independent humanitarian sources describe as a catastrophic collapse. According to the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA Situation Update number 326, published 25th September 2025, intensified strikes on Gaza City, including on tents, residential buildings and infrastructure, continue to inflict heavy casualties. In southern Gaza, families are squeezed into makeshift tents along the beach, packed overcrowded schools, or sleeping in the open with services stretched beyond capacity. Between January and August 2025, the World Health Organization, WHO, documented over 772 attacks on healthcare in the Gaza Strip, with 50 killed and 119 injured in just one reporting window. Blocks of aid, destruction of infrastructure, and escalated hostilities have combined to drive the territory into what is now described as famine. A global hunger monitor declared that famine has officially struck the Gaza Governorate, which includes Gaza City. All of that is the backdrop to the person sitting in a tent, recognizing that a mattress and teddy bear constitute home. From the moment the bombs fell, the physical world changed. Homes, once familiar, turned into dust and ash. Tents replaced roofs. Children, once at school or playing in yards, now roam among rubble. Neighbours ask each other, "Where is your house?" And answers come with defeat. "It's your house, but you wouldn't know it." Destruction is not just walls, but the very fabric of a neighbourhood. The local grocery, the schoolyard, the well pump, the electricity line, all gone. One man described the smell of the streets, all there, full of death and loss. He described how chairs, beds, toys lingered in the rubble as haunting reminders of what once was. He described how he didn't recognize his own home, and it turned out to be none other than a pile of rubble. The decision to leave the north was forced. The family moved south and took up a tent. And yet the tent is no haven. Water is scarce, food uncertain, money non-existent. He said, "There is no liquidity, no money and nothing." The use of no money twice underscores the repeat nature of this crisis. With markets destroyed, jobs gone, businesses shuttered, the post-war economy has collapsed. Tents were meant to be short-term, but they have become the only option. Water is the new frontier of suffering. Finding a place to receive it, finding time, queuing, maybe walking kilometers, risk. He said, "The story of water is the story of finding a place. A water truck passing, a broken well, a damaged pipe, all determine whether a family will survive. The infrastructure has been described as indescribably difficult." In the tent, a mattress and a teddy bear for the girls becomes the living room, the bedroom, the world. He stayed 2.5 hours just to realize this is our home, a bitter moment of recognition and acceptance of how low things have fallen. And after all this, the tents themselves remain vulnerable. The tents were destroyed. The houses were destroyed. They returned to their homes. There is no water. There are no landmarks of the neighborhood. When even the refuge is destroyed, survival becomes precarious on a new level. These testimonies align tightly with data from multiple humanitarian agencies. UNICEF's sitrep for the state of Palestine in July 2025 noted that health, nutrition, displacement and infrastructure are all in freefall. Hospitals are overwhelmed and working under daily mass casualty conditions. The Israeli blockade, documented in the Israeli blockade of the Gaza Strip 2023 to present page, reveals that since 9 October 2023, the entry of food, water, medicine, fuel and electricity has been severely restricted, dashed even further by a complete blockade on 2 March 2025. The result, famine. The IPC has said that the famine thresholds have been met in Gaza City and surroundings. 20% of households face extreme food shortages, 30% of children acutely malnourished, and 2 deaths per 10,000 people per day from starvation or malnutrition. Aid efforts have been bottlenecked, disrupted, dangerous to deliver. Trucks have been delayed, convoys attacked, aid workers killed. OCHA reports that between 1 and 28 May 2025, at least 28 aid workers were killed, an average of 1 per day, in one humanitarian update. The latest data indicate that famine thresholds have been reached for food consumption in most of the Gaza Strip and for acute malnutrition in Gaza City. This is not just a conflict zone, it is a collapsed world. The man's narrative reflects a hard decision that countless families have faced: to attempt to return or to accept a provisional tent life. He said, "We will return to the south and live in a tent. Why would we return?" The answer lies in despair, not hope. There is no water, no food, no infrastructure in the north. Better the south, even if life is miserably uncertain. Yet even in the south, tent life is not a refuge. Services are limited, overcrowded, unsafe. Schools and beaches become shelters. Tents turn into settlements. The basic pace of life remains grinding. Search for water, queue for food, wait for aid. Despite its ravages, the man still voiced a moment of gratitude. "We thank God that we are alive." But even that life is hollowed. No home is left standing. Survival has become the milestone. He said, "The war has ended for the better, thank God, and God willing it will continue, and now the suffering of water, food and drink has begun." The phrasing is peculiar but revealing. The immediate war of bombs may have paused, but the war for existence has begun. The front lines have shifted from missiles to hunger, from shelters to water pumps, from bombs to decay. In many ways, the end of one form of war is the start of another. Displacement remains massive, schools destroyed, hospitals shuttered, children starving. The north is described as no life at all. The question becomes, what sense does home hold when everything familiar is off the map? When the street you grew up on no longer exists, the school your siblings attended is rubble, the shop your parents ran is burned. Is it possible to return at all? For him, the question is answered. Why would we return? The moment when he realized the mattress and teddy bear were home is cathartic. It encapsulates entire worlds: childhood, memory, identity, collapse. A teddy bear is a symbol of normalcy. In this context, it becomes a symbol of broken home. The man says, "Here, there is a war. Here, there is a war." Honestly, I just found out that the war has begun. That sentence marks a threshold, realizing what the war has done, not just to bullets and bombs, but to the notion of home. Because what we are seeing is the crumbling of what makes life possible. It's not just the destruction of buildings, but of hope, of return, of childhood, of dignity. The north of Gaza once bustled with commerce, schools, family life. Now the man walks around with the knowledge that everything he recognized is gone, and his new world is tent and uncertainty. When basic services fail, water, power, sanitation, shelter, the conflict enters the everyday world permanently. One resident said, "The story of water is the story of finding a place." That is the level of degradation. When water is no longer a given, when you must find a place to get a drop, then life becomes provisional. And because so much has been lost, the choice is narrow. He chose the south, a tent, accepting a life without taste and without a soul. He chose survival over return, and his voice is weary. To move from tent survival to home, the following become essential: rebuild housing, re-establish neighborhoods, restore homes rather than tents, reinstate access to water, sanitation, power, the foundational services that make a house a home, ensure food security and livelihood opportunities so that men and women can work, children can attend school, and families can function. Repair and reopen health facilities, protect civilian infrastructure, ensure access to care, restore memory and identity, schools, community centres, local economy, all the things that give a place character and people roots. Guarantee safe return for displaced people only when their homes become habitable again. Unblock humanitarian aid, restore supply chains, rebuild governance and stability. All this must happen if return is to mean returning, not just going back to the place of ruin. In the north of Gaza, home has become a memory. In the south, a tent has become refuge by default, not by design. One resident's story illustrates how war transforms life, from house to rubble, from rubble to tent, from tent to waiting and survival. His voice carries the scars of what happened and the exhausted hope for what might come. He didn't ask for sympathy, only to be heard. When he said, "There is no life at all, no water or anything, no life at all. I don't know where my house is. There is no life." He didn't just describe a physical landscape. He described a world lost. And when he added, "We thank God that we are alive," we glimpse the paradox. Life remains, but in a form so altered that calling it normal would be to deny the trauma. This is what remains of home when everything else is taken away. The question is, can it ever return to what it was? Or do we need to build something new entirely, not just houses, but life? The answer will be found in the tents, the queues for water, the rebuilding of schools, the restoration of community. Until then, survival persists in the memory of a mattress and a teddy bear, waiting for return that may not come.